We have major news tonight about
plans to turn Lambert International into a one-terminal facility.
It's just the beginning of the future of Lambert.
The airport as we know it may be a thing of the past.
St. Louis's airport is completely abandoning a terminal that was built less than 30 years ago. But why? Lambert International Airport is experiencing the same growing pains as many US airports are: inefficient design, outdated systems, and increasingly crowded spaces. But St. Louis's solution is unusually aggressive. The $3 billion plan involves building an entirely new consolidated terminal and then demolishing most of what passengers use today. If that timeline holds, by the early 2030s, nearly everything about how this airport works will be fundamentally different. I traveled to the airport to find out more. STL's terminal layout is a product of its timeline. Terminal 1 opened in 1956 with the now famous domed structures, a signature of the era that still defines the airport's identity. Over subsequent decades, the airport expanded with linear concourses that matched how airlines operated at the time: smaller aircraft, simpler screening requirements, and less emphasis on high-throughput centralized processing. Terminal 2 was added in the late 1990s, largely to add gate capacity and to respond to the changing needs of airlines. TWA made Lambert its principal domestic hub, and that hub-and-spoke model pushed total yearly passenger volumes above 30 million by 2000. But after TWA was abandoned, STL was effectively de-hubbed, with far fewer connecting banks and a much heavier shift toward origin and destination traffic. The operational issue at the airport is not as much about age as it is about duplication and fragmentation. Two terminals duplicate ticketing and arrivals, split curb space, and reduce flexibility for gate assignments and irregular operations. Over time, that fragmentation becomes expensive. It increases the number of systems that must be maintained, the amount of staff coverage required, and the amount of square footage that must be heated, cooled, secured, and repaired. Aircraft have also changed in ways that expose the limitations of older gate planning. Gate layouts that were adequate for prior generations of narrowbodies can become problematic when average aircraft size increases, wingspans shift, and turnaround expectations tighten. The practical effect is that the number of gates on paper does not equal usable gate capacity in real operations. If a meaningful portion of gates cannot reliably accommodate the aircraft airlines want to schedule, the airport can appear to have capacity while still experiencing gate congestion during peaks, which is precisely the situation at the airport today. STL carried about 16 million passengers in 2019, fell sharply during the pandemic, and then rebounded as domestic travel returned. By 2024, it was back above pre-pandemic levels, and the airport's long-range forecasts point to continued growth into the 2030s, reaching the low 20 million range by around 2040. And yes, compared to the 30+ million passengers Lambert handled in the early 2000s, that may not sound like much. But a large share of that earlier total was hub-and-spoke connecting traffic. People changing planes who used gates and concourses without heavily loading the curb, parking, ticketing, or baggage claim. Today, STL is overwhelmingly origin and destination traffic, which means far more passengers hit those landside choke points. With all of that in mind, something had to change with the current layout. At the center of the plan is the Consolidated Terminal Program, one passenger terminal organized around the historic Terminal 1 domes. Those domes are retained and repurposed as the primary public-facing hall, including ticketing, the main lobby experience, and the front door of the airport, while an entirely new dual-sided concourse structure extends behind them. The new concourse arrangement is a central spine with gate positions branching to both the east and west, with up to 62 gates split evenly between the two sides. Compared with the older finger concourses, the new geometry is designed to reduce dead-end walking, increase corridor and hold room widths, and meet modern aircraft and jet bridge clearances. A major performance goal is compatibility. The new gates are planned so that today's narrowbody fleet and common wide-body aircraft, not that the airport sees too many of them, can use essentially any gate position. Check-in is centralized under the Terminal 1 domes as a single ticketing hall, feeding a single main security checkpoint positioned between ticketing and the new concourses. Operationally, that replaces multiple smaller checkpoints with one scalable checkpoint designed for peak hour demand. International arrivals are rebuilt around a shared Federal Inspection Services facility integrated into the Consolidated Terminal's arrivals level, making international processing no longer constrained to one terminal or a limited set of gates. Arriving passengers deplane, clear immigration and customs in the dedicated area, then exit directly into the common public arrivals hall. Behind that, baggage handling is a clean sheet system, a consolidated baggage claim hall paired with a new outbound-inbound handling system below the ticketing and concourse levels, using automated conveyor routing and integrated screening. Now let's talk about the roadway infrastructure. If you picture the landside as a simple loop road wrapped around the front of the terminal, today's layout forces almost every vehicle type, drop-offs, pickups, shuttles, taxis, rideshares, and rental car traffic, into the same curb zone and the same decision points. The new plan redraws that circulation into a cleaner stacked system. Departures move to an upper level roadway and curb, and arrivals move to a lower level roadway and curb. So the two highest volume flows are physically separated by elevation. Access is also reworked so traffic feeds into the loop through better defined entry points rather than a single compressed ramp to curb decision zone, which is where queues typically form when the curb is saturated. Parking shifts from dispersed lots into a large multi-level garage placed directly adjacent to the terminal. Finally, the plan pulls ground transportation with shuttles, buses, taxis, rideshare staging, and rental car interfaces into a dedicated center. On the west side of the field, the program consolidates airfield operations into a new 285,000 square foot maintenance and snow removal facility, replacing 9 older buildings. After that, the former maintenance yard area becomes a de-icing pad built as a dedicated apron with 12 aircraft positions, plus supporting items like glycol storage and crew space. So how is the construction going to be sequenced? Phase 1 builds the west concourse plus the first curb and the new check-in and security functions, targeting an initial opening by late 2028. Phase 2 replaces the east side and completes the major arrivals and international processing pieces by 2030. Phase 3 will deliver the full baggage claim and the ground transportation facility so the airport can fully operate as the completed single terminal system around 2032. In the project's commonly cited planning estimates, the program totals roughly $2.8 billion. This includes approximately $2.2 billion for the terminal and concourse components, $330 million for the parking garage and ground transportation center, $170 million for the airfield elements, and roughly $100 million for the roadway work. In the broader master plan horizon, total capital modernization needs through 2040 have been described in the neighborhood of roughly $3.4 billion. This is obviously a lot of money for an airport, and it can feel hard to justify, especially considering STL is no longer a hub. But Lambert is financed like most modern US airports. It operates as an enterprise fund supported by user charges, and the master plan materials state no general city or local tax dollars are involved. The plan is to pay for the program with aviation and airport-generated revenue, primarily airport revenue bonds backed by airline charges and airport income. This income is from things like landing fees, terminal rents, parking, and the $4.50 passenger facility charge on every ticket. All these numbers matter because Lambert is very important economically for the region. The airport's 2024 economic impact study estimates that in 2019, STL supported over 100,000 jobs and about $28 billion in business revenues. Using 2032 as the completion point for the broader development plan, the same study projects impacts rising to roughly 133,000 jobs and over $32 billion in business revenues. Taken together, this isn't a facelift, it's a ground-up redesign of how STL moves passengers and aircraft. One consolidated terminal, one processing spine, and rebuilt landside and airfield support systems set up the airport to handle demand and disruption more reliably for decades. I'm Josh, this is Buildcore, thanks for watching.